What's something weird, funny, embarrassing you've done on autopilot? Washed an apple at the sink. Dried it with a paper towel. Turned and tossed the apple in the trash and stood there holding the towel like an idiot. Undressing to shower. I threw my underwear into the toilet instead of the laundry and flushed it. Have a good day, sir. Love you too. Awkward shuffle out of Panera. I kissed my wife's best friend. It was totally innocent and something we laughed about. I had to take a bus to work every day at about 4 AM. My wife usually drove me to the stop so that I didn't have to leave my car there for 14 hours. My wife's friend was staying with us while she looked for a job and house in the area. She was getting up early anyway, so she decided she would take me and let my wife sleep. When we got to the stop, I just instinctively leaned over and kissed her goodbye. She had a dumbfounded look on her face, and mine instantly turned red as I realized what I'd done. I just said sorry. It was a habit. My wife poked fun at me for days for putting the moves on her friend. I was looking all over for my keys and finally thought that I might have left them in the car. I went outside and my car was locked. So I pulled my keys out of my pocket, unlocked the door, opened the door and realized how much of an idiot I am. I used to work on a farm and we always took our boots off before entering the homestead for meal breaks. One afternoon I absent-mindedly unbuttoned my jeans and started to take them off instead of my boots. I guess my brain decided I was done for the day. I used to work for Comcast in their call center. I worked 3 PM to 12 AM, so the only thing that was open when I would get off work was McDonald's. During the holidays they have unlimited overtime. Me being 19 and having no obligations at the time decided to just work non-stop until I fell down at my desk. I worked 3 days straight of OT, taking my mandatory breaks every couple of hours and napping in the lunchroom here and there. Finally I decided I'd had enough and started on my way home at around 2 AM one morning. I stopped at the McDonald's drive-thru because I wanted something hot to eat. Up until this point I'd subsisted on mints and packs of crackers from a vending machine. The conversation went something like this. Drive-thru lady, go ahead and order when you're ready. Me, thanks for calling Comcast, home of the triple play. My name is Lbalal 200. How can I assist you today? A very long pause. I ended up sleeping in the parking lot of that McDonald's for about 12 hours in my car. The manager eventually knocked on my window and asked me if I was homeless and if I needed to come in and warm up. I tried putting the milk bottle back in the microwave, then got mad when it didn't fit. I only stopped trying cause my brother was there watching and he started laughing. Was signing for a parcel on one of those electronic things delivery drivers use, and I wasn't paying any attention and ended up staring at it for a minute and then just drawing a straight line on the screen and handing it back. He was confused. My wife's friend and her husband were leaving after having dinner at our house. As they're leaving, she says love you to my wife. Naturally, I respond love you T. Ooh, yeah. Good night. The pipe underneath my sink was broken, so I put a bucket below it to catch the water leaking out. When it was full I poured it back in the sink and proceeded to flood my kitchen. I was working the back line at an Arby's way back in the day. We used to get our sub buns foot long, but all the subs we sold were 6-inch. I literally reached into the bag, grabbed a sub roll, cut it in half, and then put the knife back in the bag and tried to cut another sandwich with the sub bun. My manager saw it and died. I'm an ex-bus driver and many times on my way home from work, I would go to pull into a bus stop in my car. Go to the cinema to watch Quantum of Solace. Walk in 5 minutes late. Furious car chase on screen. Instinctively try to find my seatbelt. I had recently been attending a lot of marital arts classes at night. One morning at work I accidentally bowed at my boss when I entered his office. This was in the US. Neither of us are of Asian descent. And yes, he noticed. It was awkward. I was feeling an encroaching sickness coming upon me one time. So I decided to be proactive and make myself a couple of days worth of the most baller chicken soup I could manage in advance. So I'd be able to eat well even when I was dying of the lurgy. I chopped the carrots. I sorted the onions. I stewed the chicken bones. And I cooked that methodica down for 8 hours into the most delicious stock you could imagine. Then I poured it all through a colander into the sink. I drove home from Phoenix to Prescott, forgetting the fact that I had moved to Flagstaff about a month prior. Got all the way to my old driveway before realizing my error. Both Prescott and Flagstaff are north of Phoenix, but are about 1.75 hours apart from each other. Got in my car to buy groceries and drove the 45 minutes to work. PS. But the actually embarrassing one is when you are a home care nurse and you walk into one of your patients' home at 9 PM expecting them to have milk and bread in stock. Stopped at a stop sign and waited at least a minute and a half for it to turn green. Always running to catch the subway after waiting at the crosswalk in front of the station. Casually walking with my friend in the same area yesterday. Started running when the cross sign lit up. He was like, WTF. Just today I went to the grocery store, packed everything into my backpack at self-checkout and went home. As soon as I got home I remembered I never actually paid. Edit. To all those asking if I went back and paid, I did. As soon as I noticed, I went back, swiped my card in the self-checkout and got it over with. Nobody had even noticed. The store is about 300 meters from my apartment complex. For clarification as to how I got away with it, the self-checkout works by swiping your personal discount card, then grabbing a scanner that lights up. You scan all your items before putting them into your cart basket. When you're done, you put the scanner back, then go to one of the self-checkout registers. Swipe your discount card again to create a bill to pay, then pay it using your debit card. I did everything except swipe my card and pay, since I usually do all this before packing everything. Yesterday I was worried if they'd fit, so I wanted to find out first. Put them all into my backpack and then went my merry way without a second thought. I was sitting in math class one day, and I was just humming to myself while the teacher explained something at the board. She went to turn off the projector, which is next to my desk. Then, still standing next to me, she gives me this weird look and asks, "Is something wrong?" I had been so deep in thought that I had lost the tune but kept humming, so I was now just humming along, low HMMMMMMMM without any change in pitch. So yeah, that was embarrassing. I've worked as a caregiver for adults with mental and physical disabilities for more than a decade now. I'm a caregiver. I do basic cares, which include helping many adult men do their daily activities. Things like shaving, buttoning shirts, making sure belts are on correctly, so on and so forth. Once on a date, I was a bit buzzed. I fixed my date's shirt and told him he needed to look in the mirror and see if he wanted a shave. I work with preschoolers and we sing songs to help them wash their hands, and I started singing the same song when I went out with some friends to a bar. Edit. Thanks for the silver, friend. Edit 2. The song goes wash, wash, wash your hands. Wash them every day. Scrub, scrub, scrub the germs and wash them down the drain. To the tune of Row Your Boat. I was tired at the time, but sat down on the toilet thinking that the seat was up and just pissed all over the seat, floor and myself. Not a great thing to do, or clean up at 3 AM. I stepped on a Cheeto and apologized to it. On the railroad, you can get verbal permission to pass a red signal or flag, either from the dispatcher or the employee who placed the red flag. You cannot under any circumstances pass a blue light or flag, because that protects employees working on under between rolling stock beyond the blue signal. Driving home in the car late one night, I decided to take a shortcut through the local university. I go around a corner and see a blue light marking a police call station. Immediate conclusion: it can't go that way. I was getting my car out of the parking lot, heading back home after a long day. Shortly after I started driving, I passed by a car that is identical to mine and thought, cool. I found the car. I got out of the car to go to the other car. Halfway through I noticed that WTF I am doing. Looked around hoping to God that no one saw me, and then went back on my merry way. Wasn't a proud moment, lol. I lived in the same house for 16 years. Moved out. Years later I did some summer work as a construction worker out on my old house. First day I walked in, mindlessly did what I always did when I came in. Waltzed into the kitchen during the family's breakfast. Opened the fridge and peered inside for a long while looking for something to eat. I came to myself. Dude, I don't live here anymore. Looked up, and the family was all staring at me from the breakfast table. Forks in midair. At this unknown construction worker making himself right at home. I was so embarrassed I backed out. Stammering the whole time and trying to have them understand I'm so sorry I used to live here. Wasn't allowed inside work at that job site for a while. Went to the doctor's office. Took off my jumper for a flu shot. Realized my t-shirt was on inside out. Got home. Took off my t-shirt. Realized my bra was inside out. Sigh. I have 2 kids and I'm in the habit of pointing out things I think they'll like. Rainbows. The moon. Nice dogs. One day in work I turned to a young male childless colleague and said, "Oh, look over there. A cat." I got a weird look. Started to trim my beard and didn't see the guard was off. Huge swath of beard gone in one swipe. The kids still refer to me during the beardless months as creepy daddy and I am not allowed to shave it off again. Sometimes in the shower I fill my mouth up with water and just kind of let it pour out. Was brushing my teeth standing in the bathroom one day. Fully dressed before work. I just let the toothpaste pour slowly out of my mouth and onto my clothes as if I were in the shower. Now every time I brush my teeth my boyfriend warns me not to spit all over myself. Making cookies. I cracked an egg and dumped the contents into the garbage. Thankfully caught myself before putting the shell into the cookies. Was taking my belt off at but and then pulled down my pants. Got to my ankles and was like, nope, back up. I used to work in a factory, starting at 6 AM. So I'd have to get out of bed around 5:15 each morning. There was one morning when I got up, had my breakfast and left as usual. Drove round the corner to the garage where I would buy my lunch. It seemed a lot quieter than usual, but being half asleep myself, it only half registered. Then I got back in my car and noticed the time. I was awake 3 hours early. FML. I went home and back to bed for a couple of hours. Trying to unlock the front door of my house with my car remote. Edit. Wow. Platinum. Thanks so much, kind stranger. My wife says she once ate pizza at a friend's house and, out of habit, threw the crust on the floor for the dog. Those friends didn't have a dog. Put my phone under a faucet to fill up my water bottle. I recognized my mistake, and then I did it again. I placed my cell phone in the fridge and left the milk out after making myself some cereal. Ended a phone call with my boss, love you babe. Edit. Boss was a she, and to be honest she was pretty damn cute in a slightly goofy way. I work as a housekeeper and when we knock on a door we yell housekeeping and when we throw laundry down the chute we yell heads, so those below watch their heads. Anyway, one day I knocked on a door and loudly yelled heads. Later that day the back of my mind remembered my mistake and made sure to correct it, but I overcorrected and stupidly yelled housekeeping down the laundry chute. Knocked on an open door for the bathroom. I was talking to my boyfriend while he was eating a sandwich. In mid-sentence, he ripped a piece off and threw it at my face. He looked stunned when I didn't open my mouth and catch it. We have a dog. We both nearly peed laughing. I've been working with children for 7 years now. When I'm drunk, tired, otherwise distracted, I go into teacher mode. If I'm traveling with people, I'll count them on and off public transport. I offer everyone water and snacks if I have them. And even tell complete strangers to use your walking feet inside voice if they're running or shouting. I didn't even know I was doing it till my boyfriend pointed it out to me. Here you go. If you need anything else, just let me know. As I graciously put down the plate with food I cooked for the only person in the room, me. I said no babes you're wrong to my boss at a management meeting 2 weeks ago because I was daydreaming about my boyfriend. Kill me now. Edit. I said this to a comment he made. Kind of like hearing and seeing one person, but thinking about another. I hope this makes sense. Not sure how to explain. It didn't go unnoticed. It was slow and painful. I tried to save it along the lines of didn't want you to hit reality all that hard, so I'll let you down nice and slowly. I then looked at everyone else and basically said it is really just a question of time until I call you all babes BTW. Awkward to the maximum. But thank you all. Woke up. Automatically got out of bed. Got dressed. Brushed my teeth. Packed up my backpack. Headed out of my dorm. Happened to glance at the clock in the lounge. It was 1:30 AM. I made dinner. It was some exotic chicken and rice. Wanted a drink. Poured orange juice in my chicken and rice. Tasted great though. Reposting my own comment from a few years ago in a similar thread, because I still think this is my best response to this question. Came into work to work front of house after several extended nights of profound insomnia. I was holding up okay until a gal walks up with a dog in her arms. I always chat people up about their dogs because A, dogs are awesome, and B, people love to talk about their dogs and often tip a little more when they feel like they've actually connected with you. Today though, I didn't have two neurons to rub together to break from the script of hey, what can I get you? Here's your total. Do you want a receipt? And so I lean over the counter like a drunk, lock my sleep-starved, unfocused googly eyes on this poor lady, and blurt out, your dog. Who is he? And then expectantly stare at her like that was a normal and not at all insane thing that I just kinda vomited at her. She kinda stared at me and clutched her dog a little closer, and I think I probably went a little cross-eyed and tried to salvage the conversation by talking more. I don't remember what I said, but it was definitely not an improvement on the situation. It may not have even been a coherent sentence. My dog's favorite part of the day is dinner time. I pull out her food. She starts swagging and doing the tippy taps. Get a scoop of food. And instead of going to her bowl, I dump the full scoop into the trash can. She then just looked at me with the saddest eyes and I felt terrible. So she got a little bit extra food and some pets. At the gym, there is an arm curl machine. Typically I do a heavy amount, but that day I was tired and pretty brain dead. As I used the machine, I didn't realize that there was no weight on it, and I tried curling it with effort as normal. I ended up slamming myself in the head with the bar, and everyone in the gym heard it. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes. Dipped a knife in a cup and tried to drink out of a jam jar. I always take my shirt off after my shoes when I get undressed. So there I was at around 4:30 in the morning, headed through security to fly across country for a festival. I'm nowhere close to awake and I'm totally running on autopilot. I'm throwing my stuff on the conveyor. I take my shoes off. And I started to take my shirt off and the FFS, why was she attractive? So lady was like, slow down sir, we just met. I didn't know they came with a sense of humor. Go to check the mail. Grab the keys. Oh yeah. There is garbage recycling that needs to go out. I stop at mailbox. I get mail. Throw away the garbage. Throw away the mail. Throw away my keys. Neighbor asks if I am going to need those. I just kind of stop. Look around a bit and say, well, yeah, probably. I was getting out of my car and went to take a sip of my iced coffee. Unfortunately, I put the end of my car key in my mouth instead. I just finished getting my hair cut and walked out to get into my car. I got into the back seat and sat there for a minute before realizing that I drove myself there. Worst part was the salon has a glass storefront and I was parked front and center. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. I guess I listen to too many podcasts because I keep trying to pause work conference calls. I've also caught myself trying to increase my husband's volume by pushing buttons on my phone while we're in a room together having a conversation. Put the cardboard circle that comes with your frozen pizza into the oven and the actual pizza in the trash can. I was really high and paranoid. My friend was leaving my apartment. He said something along the lines of alright, later on dude. And I didn't feel capable, so I did a weird circular motion with my arms. Snapped both fingers into finger guns at him, then winked. Why? Yesterday I jumped out of my truck thinking it was in park and it drove away from me. I jumped back in and hit the brake about 1 foot before crashing into a building. As a teenager, I worked at McDonald's. My McDonald's was 24 hours and during the summer, I worked the overnight shift. My sleep schedule would get all messed up. My parents woke me up for dinner one evening. I zombie walked to the table and sat down. My dad asked me to say grace. I bow my head and say, "Thank you for choosing McDonald's. May I take your order?" Started unbuttoning and unzipping my trousers while I walked towards the toilet. Just like I do at home because I'm efficient like that. Except I was at work and was walking through the shared office. Capital I, peed into the trash can. In the kitchen. I was sober at the moment. Mind you. Just very distracted. Trying to use my house keys to board the bus. I had a deadline and I was very sleep deprived. I drank a lot of coffee so I had to visit the loo a lot. One particular pee visit late at night. I went to wash my hands as usual but the tap wouldn't budge. I kept turning it yet no water would come out. So I did what most adults would do when that happens. I started crying and called for someone to check it, saying that I broke the tap in between gasps. Boyfriend walked to the sink and magically fixed the tap. I was turning it the wrong way. I was lying naked on top of my high school girlfriend and we were smooching. And I pulled back to ask if it bothered her that I was naked. Instead, I said, "Does it bother you that I'm gay?" Put my Bluetooth headphones in the freezer to charge. Wanted to go to work with the car, but forgot to turn the engine on. I stood there for 10 minutes trying to figure it out. A neighbor even came to help me and didn't see the problem. Most cringe moment of my adult life probably. I finally got a job as a wine consultant that I had been trying to get for years. It was just a position at our local grocery store but our wine department was the best in town so I was pumped. Doing a great job and getting regulars at my tastings and it. One day I get to do a tasting with a fairly expensive bottle of champagne, around $130. I opened the bottle and it starts to fizz over. Wasn't cooled enough yet, and my instant reaction is to start chugging it because that's what you do when that happens with a beer or soda. But this was champagne. Expensive champagne. And I'm chugging it in the middle of the sales floor, while on clock, in a grocery store. Still cringe when I think about it. Edit. Holy at my inbox. I'll try to get some of these replies out. Also thanks for the silver.